Hi.
How's it going? How's it going? How's it going?
I love this entire setup.
I love
You're
it.
honestly like great for doing this.
I appreciate you. We just want to do something different for the community and, keep on putting that value out there, keep putting that positive energy out there. But for those who's under a rock who don't know, give them a quick intro about yourself.
Yeah, I think it's good to tie it up also from the questions that you're going to be asking instead of like really just going through that line by line, just to give you a perspective of how I built my business and where I transitioned to and how it can really contribute to this conversation so you can ask more detailed questions to make it more effective for yourself and everybody. Um, I'm not sure if you've heard of the book called Cash Flow Quadrant. No? Okay, you gotta be put on. Okay. Okay. So the cash flow quadrant is written by Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks about the four quadrant that exists. So there's the employee quadrant, there's a business owner quadrant, there's a self-employed quadrant, and an investor quadrant. And you see, most people just stay within the E quadrant their whole life, right? Or sometimes they might have a part-time business, right? And they're in E quadrant. And so they're on the left side of that quadrant. The book goes into detail of different quadrants of where people are and how they make financial decisions, which is really, really important if this is what you guys are talking about, because then it shows a clear difference between a business quadrant and a self employed quadrant, right? And what the highest quadrant where we should aspire to be in, which is in the I quadrant, the investor quadrant, because you want to be in that passive, right? Because that's where we get the freedom that we're looking into to doing, right? And so, understanding this quadrant, I when I stepped into the real estate space, I could easily just be like, look, I could be a realtor, I could underwrite deals, but where did that put me in the quadrant and where do want to be? And I really wanted to be in the investor quadrant, right? And when I look at all other possibilities of being within real estate, I wanted to just focus on the investing side. And that's where I learned that you can actually be within the real estate space as an investor, right? So that's when I learned how to raise capital from investors, bring them in as a joint venture partner, whereby we could either buy a house to flip or buy multiple different apartment buildings, generate that equity, and then being able to reuse that capital to scale essentially the investment portfolio. I did really well in that. I also gained a lot of following because I became, I guess, an influence because I shared my story in the process of this whole thing. And so a lot of people went into real estate investing as well. And around 2023, a lot of people had started asking me to coach them and say, "Hey, how did you build your portfolio in such like a concise set of time? And if you can coach me one on one." And so I was so happy to take on that opportunity because I wanted to show people how they can um, have wealth in the long term and also generate income that could relieve them from the regular duties that they have, and they can actually come into the ownership of time without being a business owner or a self-employed person, but actually in the investor side. So what does that mean? Understanding where delegation goes, building those power team, and strategizing within the market. So really just embodying that duty of what an investor does and not stepping in and saying, oh no, I want to make the property management money and I'm gonna do the property management on my side. Um, and so I really wanted to stay within the investor quadrant because I can understand in terms of how to build a power team and how to build a business completely. And what I ended up doing is, as I coached more people within the real estate space, some of them were not able to do anything with what I was able to teach them. And I was really like confused on what was missing because I was teaching them the strategies, I was teaching them the numbers, But what had happened was I learned that it's not about the strategy. It's not about even the money that's a restriction. It's about the mindset. It's about how someone sees themselves. It they
Say
you
it
could have
again for the
all the
people.
money.
Say it again for the people in the back.
It's a mindset. You could have all the money. Like you could have the resources, you could have the credit, you could have the best mentors, but if you do not see yourself different than what you think you are and you don't step into that role of what you need to be, nothing will happen. And so I realized that the mindset is the focus. It's not the strategy. I'm not trying to sell anybody real estate. I'm not here to tell you, okay, this is what you need to buy in order for you to gain that wealth. It's I'm here to show people that it is the mindset and it is the main key like driver for anything for you to make a decision. And I'll give you an example. I met a franchise owner. Let's just say he owned like six franchises, and I saw him and he was serving me the salad because he owned a salad franchise. And I asked him because I kind of had a suspicion. I'm like, "Are you the owner?" And he says, "Yes." And I'm like, "So why are you serving me my salad?" And because it's a true question, right? Because what happens is this. He could be an investor, right? And because he has six franchises now, but he because he said his business hit some turbulence, he now found himself as a cashier for his own business. You see, there is so much potential when you just take and embody that role of being an investor. Problem solving as an investor instead of running behind the cash register to take people's orders to so that you can save through $200 a day in one of your books for one of your companies. It doesn't make any sense. Because if you had the logical reasoning to know how to multiply money to work for you, continue that process to get yourself out of that problem, whatever it is that you're going through. Hire a mentor, find someone who will give you a different perspective in your problems. Because the only reason why you're struggling is because your lack of perspective. And that's it. And
Yes,
so that's why it's really important that people need to have a mentor, a mindset coach, and that's like the first thing that anybody should have
yes,
when they begin a project, no matter what project, no
yes.
matter what business.
I agree. I agree, and I think that's one of the main reasons why we, make sure that we pair our members up with different mentors and advisors. Like Mister Fix It, like Cece from the Natural Way 365, and so on and so on. Because I agree with that. It's not about just going by what you know. You got to have that extra, especially you got to have that extra accountability partner. Somebody that's gonna keep you on tasks like, hey, did you do this? Did you got this done yet? Okay, come on, and we all need that little motivation. We all need that accountability partner. So real quick, can you walk me through your first investment and how did that come about?
Yeah, so I needed to, it was actually really interesting because I didn't have the funds. I had literally I didn't have the money to get into an investment at all, but I knew it was something that I wanted to do. So this is really operating out of wholeness, and I could probably talk about this in the mindset space because there is a deeper sense within the mindset space of how someone can create from a place of wholeness and not operating at what their eyes tell them, right? Most people would be like, I don't want to go into real estate because I don't even have $1,000 in my bank account, right? Or $5,000 in my bank account, or I only have this much. To create something out of wholeness is knowing that it is not about what your eyes or your senses that are telling you, but it's what your heart is telling you. So I stepped into the real estate space. I found this first deal about $230,000. After renovations, it could have been for over 450,000. That's the ARV. And my plan was just to sell the contract because I had the deal under contract. I could have easily made 10 grand very quickly. Um, but then when I ran the numbers, knowing that how much money was supposed to be made, I was like, maybe it won't help if I ask. if I could be a part of the deal, right? And that's what I ended up doing. I ended up asking the investor, you can buy it off of me, or we can work together and I'll bring my contracting team to finish the job. We didn't sell it for 450 because we sold it for 550.
Hey, I love it.
But there was a lot of struggles obviously building up to that. And then after that we started, obviously we did a few more flips, and then we transitioned into multifamily, and multifamily was my favorite.
Yeah.
And I'll say this because um like I would say we would buy uh, between 50 to $70,000 a door.
So I really wanted to, dive into some of the challenges that you had with that first investment. Can you kind of touch on some of those?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is obviously because you're in the I quadrant, the investor quadrant, especially when your strategy is raising capital and working with investors that want to be more on the passive side of investing to really utilize the skills that I was able to accumulate within the real estate space and transacting it. Um, Obviously, there was a lot of difficult parts, such as being able to have the money for closing, right? Because every deal you have to raise capital for money at the same time you buy the deal. And there's always that timeline, right? You get the deal under contract, getting the money under deposit, and then accumulating whatever, how much you need for closing. Almost every single closing I've ever done, I had $0 to put into it. And I had to really jump off a cliff, not like literally, but raise that money. And there's been instances to where I had to raise $1 million within 2 days, right? And you see, in order for you to get to next levels of your business, you have to solve bigger problems. And if you're not solving like $1,000 problems, you're never going to get to $1 million business. And if you're not solving $1 million business, you're never going to get to that next scale. So I really put myself in that position and continuing that exercise with that relationship that I had with money, and knowing that my efforts are going to be the same. I'm talking to my time is all the same as everybody else, right? So what's the difference between me doing a small scale business versus doing a bigger scale business where I'm moving 6, 7, 8 figures of money for real estate transactions and getting paid percentages of that, right? Like that's obviously how you can earn more within that limit of time. Like what Eugene was talking about, how do you scale your business, get paid more, and by doing less, it's actually by managing more money, because the more money that you manage, that's why mutual funds and a lot of these big hedge funds in New York make money, because it's all about the percentages of the actual overall general consensus of the population of investing into a particular investment, right? Again, the difficult part and one thing that I had to overcome was that I'm always just one conversation away in order for me to raise that little bit of capital. Aside from that, there's obviously the operational struggles as well. Building that power team, working with different types of contractors, different types of professional people, because then you're really overseeing all of that structure. At the same time, overseeing the actual plan for the investment to come to fruition so you can get those returns that you're looking for, right? You're really dealing with a lot of people. You're involving government, you're involving a lot of other people because you are moving a lot more money. So there's a lot of work in terms of being able to build that strong power team that sees the vision and carrying that vision through. So, in terms of challenges, it's really just being able to continue, even the market shifts, right? Like, how do you deal with those market shifts? How does that define you? How does that define your business? Um, but one of the big things that I did learn within the real estate investing space was that my passion, while I was really good within the actual asset management side, my passion was really on the coaching space. Because when I realized that students were struggling to actually reach even that, see themselves in that position of being an investor, right? Because a lot of them are even struggling in the employee sector, right? And so without that perspective that my mentor didn't like was able to provide me, I was able to help people that or even provide that perspective. So right now the big, I would say, challenge that I would like to undertake and I would like to work on is to build a conscious like leaders community that actually step into their business, whether it's a business or an investor space, from that place of wholeness. And the challenge is really allowing them to see why mindset is important, which is honestly a big deal because people that get into business would always say, I have a good mindset already. I don't need a mindset coach. But that's really it's not true, because even it says in the Bible, iron sharpens iron as man sharpens another man. So you really can't step into business without having someone help you in that matter. So the it's not so much of a struggle, but this is the mission statement, is to show people that that is very important, because you need someone to help you operate the three-dimensional world within the spiritual realm, and how that connects to your purpose. Because when everything is connected to your purpose, you're literally in flow. And I'll give you an example. A tree, right? A tree does not have the consciousness that we have to say, my purpose is something else than blooming leaves. It
Mhm.
only has a preset programming that it will bloom its leaves regardless of the season. See, the problem with humanity is that we have the consciousness to decide against our purpose. And that's why when season happens, we're turbulent. We're like, what's going on? And that's really to put that into perspective. It means it's really important that people build out of purpose when they're doing the business or the investment venture, whatever they are tapping into, tap into it from the place of purpose, which is on the higher dimension of things, because then you're building your business because of your self development. Because when you build your business without self development, all you get is pride. But if you build your business because you are developing as a person, that is what it means to be spiritually in tune, in alignment with your purpose. That's when you're in God flow, you're in God mode. Like, you're meaning like all the synchronicities are happening. Business should be easy. It should be. When you are in line with your purpose, it will come to flow. And so to direct that message is not so much the challenge, but the mission statement for myself right now.
You know what? You know what? I always is that's super crazy because I I experienced that. Before before we started this journey with the mob. I was a publisher, and I was working in the entertainment business, and it just seemed like everything was just so difficult. And it was a lot based off of pride. We wanted to just be the best. We wanted to look the best. But once we got on this journey where it became not just about us, it became about other people and building up the community. Everything just took off. Even with the mob, like instantly everything started to align itself because we stepped into our purpose. And I believe all of our purpose is to provide a service and be a servant for the next man or a next woman. And that's why I'm always talking about benefits and really making people realize how is your how are you benefiting the community with your business and with your company or with your brand. And I think, when people really step into that, you're right, it becomes a lot more easier. Even when it gets hard, it's easier getting through those hard times. So, I really love that. Real quick, because I've heard you, speak on mentors, and this is something that I touch on a lot, especially with our members, and really kind of, and just with businesses that I've been consulting for the longest. How did you really get in touch with your mentor that you have now?
He actually found me, which is a good sign, because I learned this, that in order for you to find your mentor, you have to become the best student. And I was really seeking and manifesting wisdom and my mentor. And then we finally got connected by a friend of mine, and I shared him a little bit of my story. And how he became my mentor was really when he really taught me a lot about understanding, like, to start from what it is that I want to experience and what I want to become, as opposed to filling in the gaps of what's missing in my life, starting with it, with what you want instead of what's missing, which is like an amazing perspective. You really think about it, because most people, whenever they start a business, whenever they problem solve anything, the first thing that we're always defaulting to is what's missing and what needs to be done. But actually, the codes of the universe is very simple. You ask and you shall receive. So, meaning just identify what it is that you want to experience, and you will experience that. Everything in between is for God's magic, like God's magic to happen to you, to be honest. So, with my mentor, he really helped me gain a lot of perspective that grounded me within the three-dimensional realm and showed me that that's not how I should be operating. And you were really mentioning about helping other people. That's actually key to conscious transcendence. And there's actually a chart called conscious transcendence chart. And within the third dimension above that is the fourth dimension. And the key to transcendence is actually the purpose, right? And in the higher state of vibration is love, and the lower state of vibration is fear. There's only two vibrations. And you helping other people is actually stepping out with that purpose, knowing that you're stepping out with love, because we are love, right?
Definitely.
We are love. So definitely us, when we give love, we are in flow,
Def-
because you can only you can know a fruit by its tree. So when you are producing the fruits of love, meaning how am I showing this business owner love, how am I showing my friend love, how am I showing my family love, how am I showing my business love, my investors love, my community love. And if you constantly ask yourself that question, constantly redefine that for yourself, you are meant to transcend to whatever it is, and you are like you're prepared for the greatness that's inheritedly yours, and
yeah.
you're truly in alignment for that. And I can really go into this deeply within actually the spiritual fourth dimensional realm, because that's what the coaching that I do entails. It's not about what you do or how you do, but it's who you are and what you're building from. And a lot of people build from who they think they are, the story of the self. This is me, this is my age, this is how much money that I have, this is how much money my parents have ever made. And so because of that story, they get stuck. But
Yes.
we live in three planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, we have intellect, and we live in physical bodies. We live in physical bodies. We are not our physical body, we are not the story of the selves. So when we operate from that energetic body as we are, we'll it's very easy to understand that everything is just by way of energy. Even this experience is a vibration that's connected together. That's why we can have this conversation. Meaning that every other experience that you want to have is just a matter of connecting your vibration, your consciousness to that attention. So that means if you're not experiencing something, it's because you just haven't thought about it. It's not that someone's taken it from you or someone's taking the opportunity or that business. There is no such thing as lack in this world. They're so abundant. This world has is so abundant, and that's why you and I exist independently. There's more than enough for everybody. And so going into understanding who you are as an energetic body, shifting into those experiences, right? Like knowing that the harvest is literally plentiful, ready for picking, but the workers are few, because not a lot of people know that it's really just stop playing the victim of your life and start being a creator of your life, because that's who you are. We are great created in the highest form, and to be honest, we don't really need to anything. We just need to be. That's why we're called human beings, not human doings. If we just we have everything. Like literally you just think of it and it manifests into existence. This conversation, you thought of it, it manifests into existence. We have all the power that's been granted in us, but most of the time we live it in the story of other people, in the story of other people's lives, because we're subconsciously programmed into that. So creating
Definitely.
a business out of wholeness is unlearning those existing subconscious programming. And this is what I talk about. Build wealth from breaking your generational curses is the best thing that you can ever do, because you anybody can make money in this world. But that money will not make any sense in over the next generation if you do not change your mind, because that's the only thing that your children will genuinely inherit, because that'll change the behavior that they have with the money that you even pass on to them, should you get to that stage of being able to pass on inheritance and wealth.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Message. So, real quick, I wanted to touch on something that you brought up earlier. When it comes to funding, when you said you had to raise $1 million in 2 days, walk us through that process.
Stressful. Stressful. Yeah, yeah, it's stressful. It like I mean, it's a lot of phone calls. It's a lot of like, "Hey, this is what I'm working on. Who do you got that could help me?" You know? And to be honest with you, when you're raising that much like money, it is quite difficult, but when you find that pocket of people that are able to deploy liquid, something like that, the conversation becomes easier, right?
Yeah,
Because they know what they're doing. They know $1 million that they're deploying, right? So they
yeah,
know the right questions to ask, and they know the right paperworks to be in place. And it's just to be honest with you, it's easier to transact a lot of money than there is to transact a little money. And so this is where I want to bring this message that when you're starting something, genuinely visualize what your life would look like and start from that. And
right.
because once you visualize what that looks like, you won't take the say, I'm going to take these baby little steps in order for me to get there. That's you obsessing over the how when the how is created for you, right? There's seasons for a reason, so that all you would do is plant that seed, and the seasons that God has provided will allow everything to grow for you to for the picking, right? So going back to your question, capital raising that $1 million is a very stressful situation, but I grew my network completely. Like I have a lot more investors from that day, before that day to that day. Like I've discovered more money than I had. You know what I mean? I over raised even at that point. That I had more people in my pipeline because they knew what I was looking for, right? So
Yeah.
just really not hesitating in being able to have those conversations because that's and putting yourself in that position.
Yeah. So and that's what I was going to really tap into as well. How did you, you know, really put yourself in those rooms with people that even have the capital to invest that amount of money, or put yourself in those rooms with people that you can have those conversations with? What was some of your steps, or what was some of your strategies to put yourself in those rooms?
So this was before I knew mindset the way I do now. The way I know mindset now is I'll tell you, you connect with it vibrationally by honestly, first and foremost, understanding where you are and how you're operating within your mindset and which vibration you exist in, and how to transcend to the vibration that you should be in so that you can attract that network of people. If I had known what I know now, I would be a lot further ahead in my real estate game or literally my entire business because I did these are I've literally unlocked the codes of spirituality and how it aligns for capital raising, right? But what I was doing was the hard way. It was really just connecting, calling ringing a bunch of people, also utilizing Facebook. Facebook is a very powerful tool. There's a lot of investors in there, a lot of investors within the community, at different communities, and hopping on those calls with the different investors that are in different Facebook groups that are eager to get into deals. So it was more of like a lot of conscious effort for me to get there. But now, in terms of raising capital, it's really I'm just attracting the investors. Truthfully, I'm really in the space where the I don't even I have investors today that says he can fund. Okay, so we were working on a multifamily deal about a couple of months ago, but we that didn't like pull through. But they're still looking to fund another deal, and they're willing to fund up to like 20 to 30 million for an investment deal in Canada or the US. So even that, I was like, okay, yes, the deal fall through, but we still have this investor in the back end. And this investor really just came actually with the deal that I didn't even know that I was going to investigate into. You know what I mean? It just like it happened. Yeah, like it was like, yes, we have an investor that owns a financial company in like Europe and they're looking to invest in Canada. So just I can't express to you the power of aligning your vibrations because that is absolutely true when you transcend um from breaking down those generational curses that we get triggered by anger, hate, envy, and that happens to all of us because we
Yeah,
are all subconsciously programmed. But when you start unlearning those and you actually start transcending consciously, you start attracting the people within the same level of vibration that you should be because you've consciously allowed yourself to be in that space or in that energy that you'll attract the right people. People come to me, they talk to me about investments, about funding, and to the point that I have a lot of people in my Rolodex right now doing developments all over the world. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these groups of people, especially with the money that I have on the back end as well? Like, how do I put this all together? So now that's the perspective that I have because I'm in like such an abundant mode. So it drives me to solve a bigger problem.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, what would you say, really separate you from other investors?
I would say I love telling my story in social media. I like to involve people in the process, even in my personal life in social media, the things that I like, and utilizing social media as a form of art in the process of actually doing what I love. And I've been using Instagram since I was like in high school, and it's been a catalog for me of history of things that I've done, things that I've experienced, and sharing that sharing that process with my community in an authentic way, especially the transition that I'm going through, which is really difficult to make people catch up because I'm sure you can imagine, from real estate to mindset coaching, building out the mindset coaching space, but still being involved in some kind of investment space, the people that know me, they could see pieces of it, right?
Hmm.
And I love that because I create this genuine connection within my community where they feel like they're a part of that growth. And somehow one of my goals is really continuously creating spaces for conscious leaders to transcend and challenge themselves and see themselves beyond what they're doing, see themselves beyond what their kind of their vision, and say like, I'm whatever that's in front of me is only an illusion. It's the matter of what my heart is taking me. And my mission statement is to really show people that they are far greater than what they see. Don't just go for the quick money. Don't go for the quick money because the quick money is going to get you working for a long time. Like,
Yes.
I encourage women out there, like, if you're going to do a candle business, that's going to get you working for a very long time, girl. I'm sure if you start looking what it is that you want to experience, your candle business might not support that after maybe until like 30 years later, when you have a big investor kind of creating that as a manufacturing, and then now you're now from self-employed to a business owner to an investor because it's become so big you can sell shares of that company to other investors, right?
Mhm.
So you've got to look at these things, and you won't know these things unless you know where you're going first. Know where you're going first. See and visualize what you see yourself doing in your most ideal day, in your most ideal situation, and be that person today. And that's why it's becoming first, and then you do the work, and then you have the experience. That's literally the formula to manifesting anything into existence.
I love it. I love it. Manifestation is super powerful. I love to tell people all the time, you can really, I know it's kind of corny, but you can literally do anything you put your mind to for sure. So, it goes back to that mindset thing. And over this, the holiday season, I recommended a lot of mindset books within our community. And, I've just seen the shift and it starts there. So, real quick, I wanted to talk about legal and ethical considerations. What legal or ethical dilemma have you encountered in your business journey, and what did you do? What did you learn from it, if any?
Everything is legal and ethical. Everything, right? That's why you need a mentor.
Yeah.
Everything is legal and everything is ethical because at the end of the day, the basic thing is choose love all the time. Choose love. So if you're going to start a conversation, are you coming from a place of love or fear? And that goes both ways with legal and ethical situation, right? Because people are afraid to talk sometimes because of the fear, right? But whenever you're getting into big decisions, you have big responsibilities to choose love all the time. And what do I mean that by that? How do I choose love in this situation, whether it's complicated, right? How do I choose love in the situation? Like what problems to solve first, right? A lot of these things, this is where you have to talk to someone that you can trust and that can aid that perspective, and help you choose what conscious transcendence mean in that situation. So it's really, there's so many different cases, but I just want to say that overall, because at the end of the day, all concepts that we're experiencing are neutral. It is our energy output to it that creates the karma. Okay? All experience are neutral. We create the story based on our even emotional wounds.
Definitely.
So if like you could see this conversation in two different ways, somebody else could see it in another way, but it's based on their emotional wound, right? And that's why, again, it's really important to understand where those thoughts are coming from, and before you meddle with the third dimensional world in any degree of dollar value, whether it's yours or somebody else's, you need to have a clear mind and operate out of a place of wholeness with no existing paradigms, and understanding that you're only doing this based out of your own self development, obviously. And then from there, all the good will follow, right? Because a lot of people usually build of, this is what I have, therefore this is what I'm going to do. And then what happens if this doesn't work out? They That's where legal and ethical moral comes in shaky, because they started from here as opposed to starting from, what can I do best for myself and how do I impact people and understand that abundance will flow after. It's such a powerful way to think.
Definitely. I agree. I agree for sure. So, how has your mindset evolved as a leader, and what practices do you incorporate to maintain a positive entrepreneur spirit?
Meditation.
I love it.
Meditation, like literally meditation, sitting down in a quiet place, quiet, understanding the power of your mind and understanding that your thoughts passes by. I don't know if you know this, but memory, we only really remember 50% of it after an hour. And so if you can imagine people that argue over the past, what are they really arguing? Based out of a 50% fact that they forgot, right? And so the only reality is the present moment, and every moment you get the chance to choose love, right? So that's the mindset that everybody needs to go into things. Okay, it is like the emotions that we have based on the story is really us creating the story of what we think that it is. It's not necessarily what we're experiencing. It's
Yes.
just telling it ourselves, because somebody, the other person, has a different story too. So what's the truth? On top of that, 50% of that is lost memory too. So, how do you develop mindset for something that's so impermanent? You focus on what's permanent, which is the present moment. How are you feeling right now, Delanio? Right now that we have this conversation, how are you feeling with this our business? How are you feeling with our investment? What can we do to change how you feel? And we can put love into it. That's it.
Yes. I
That's it.
love it.
Because
I love
if you can look at another person dead in the face, dead in the eyes, and say, how can we put love? How can we solve this with love? Imagine how many relationships you can save. Not
that.
just business partnerships,
Yes.
parent kid relationship. How do we solve this with love? Ask, like, that needs to be a theme of a question in
Yeah.
every topic of conversation.
I love that. I'm actually sending this to a few of my family members too. But I love that. I think it's super important. And I actually that's actually a confirmation. I actually read that in one of the mindset books that I've read over the holidays, and it actually touched on really focusing on the present time and not focusing on the past or the future.
Hmm.
And most of the time, especially as an entrepreneur, that's all we can really think about is the future. And sometimes the past, a lot of times we think about, man, I really messed up that money. I really, and speaking from me personally, it's a lot of times, even what you said earlier, if I knew what I knew now, I would be in, a better position. But, at the end of the day, we can't continue on dwelling on that. We got to dwell on the now, where we are now, and and not even dwell on the future, which when I first read it, I'm like, that don't even make sense. But you know once I really started to think about it, it really do. And even with the meditating thing, just to be quite honest, to be very honest with you, I just thought it was some bullshit. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about meditation for a long time. And I just like, I just never seen, I just thought it was some BS. But when I actually did it, it was like a whole new world opened up, and it was something that even now I'm still practicing on, trying to do it a lot more. But I can definitely vouch for meditation from my own personal experience, and this is from somebody that really didn't believe in meditation. To be honest with you, just coming from where I come from, it's all about doing, putting in the work, bootstrapping your boots up. But sometimes you really do have to really realize where you at in the present time, and what do you want? What do you want to put out in the universe, and what do you want to get back from the universe as well? So I definitely love that. One more question. What is the most important lesson you've learned about pitching your business, especially when it comes to talking to these investors, and getting funding for different projects? What is the most important lesson you learned from that?
Um, feel the energy in the room, and that's requires practicing in the presentness, and you can only do that through meditation, right? Because like m- I want to highlight this. Our heart is our biggest navigator, and it actually tells us, like, that's our intuition, right? It tells us where we're going. But how often do people actually listen to their heart throughout the day? You don't really hear your heartbeat, right? But when you're meditating, you're hearing your heartbeat because you're being present. And that the more you do that, it creates the awareness of exactly the direction of where you're going, even to the smallest decision of which fruits you're going to grab from the grocery store, right? Because we have that discernment, we have that power within us, but we just get lost in our own thoughts. We get lost of what the story of what happened where we were. We get lost in our own dreams, and we lose our superpowers of what we can accomplish in the present moment, right?
Definitely.
To go back your question, could you ask that again?
So, basically, what is the most important lesson you've learned about pitching your business effectively?
Pitching the business.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So being present within an energy, right? And knowing that, like, you're solving their problem. Most people, there are actually people out there who are, that the problem is that they have money that they need to deploy. Okay.
Right.
So again, there's mindset work on your end for you to be, to feel good and be able to raise that money, because a lot of people have money blocks and they feel iffy about talking to people about money. Sometimes money is such a taboo discussion, like asking people their income. Some people are like, why would you ask me that? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of mindset. I would say, first things first, again, work on your mindset. If you don't have a mentor or it's not accessible to you, reach out to me. I'll be happy to do a quick one-on-one with you, just to get you re-engaged so that you can actually listen to your intuition, because your higher self is your biggest mentor that'll take you to, like, how to raise that capital from that investor, right? That's the biggest thing that I would say that you need to understand is work on your discernment, because everybody has money. There are a lot more money in this world than there are who knows what to do with it.
Mm,
You cannot just accept money from everybody else as well. You also don't want to just work with somebody who has the money just because they have it. There's so much nuances that goes with it, and
yeah.
the only way you'll get the truest answer is that if you truly meditate on it and you work with a coach to walk through that thought process that you have, because there's a lot of discernment that comes with capital raising, for your business,
Yes.
and who you're going into bed with money with, because a lot of people, that if that's all they've got, right, and then you take their money, right, and the business doesn't pan out, that's a very stressful situation for you guys,
Yeah.
right? Work with people who are in the abundant side. Work with people who are not afraid for the delay, who's not afraid, like, just say, look, there's risks in what we're doing, right? And just be upfront with it, so that there's no huge expectations, right? Obviously, we all want to go into everything with ambition, but there's that legal part of things. Just say, hey, look, we are both consciously making this decision that we're getting into this partnership, or you're getting into this investment, right?
Yes.
Because without that clarity, both sides having the right mindset, you're creating a formula that's, again, built on sand as opposed to built on a solid rock.
I love it. I love it. You know what? I love when we have these sessions and we have these discussions, and a lot of the things that I've been talking about over the years come full circle because it's always important to hear it come out somebody else's mouth, and not just mine. And it also, it's also confirmation for myself as well, that I'm moving down the right path and I'm moving on the right vibration. Because I always talk, this is something I always tell, my members and potential clients. If it's all about creating, building that love and respect first. Because if you get into anything without that love and respect, then you start running into problems. You start running into trust problems. If anything goes wrong, then you kind of burn those bridges.
Where's the love?
Yeah,
Where's the love?
you gotta have that love involved, and especially
Yeah.
when money's involved. So it's definitely a great confirmation. This is definitely super powerful, and I'm glad we got a chance to really connect. I'm definitely looking forward to doing more, and putting together more projects and building with you more in the near future. I got a bunch of people that I definitely want to connect you with, and hopefully vice versa. But I appreciate you for just taking your time to come and have this conversation because we need to put this out there in the world a lot more, instead of just make money, make money, make money like all these other so-called gurus and all of that. It's really
Not
goes
about
into
the
love.
money.
It's all about that. It all goes back to love and really enjoying what you love to do and figuring out how can you benefit somebody else and do something for somebody else. So I love that for
It's
sure.
way better to invest in someone who has the love for it,
Yeah.
because that's when you know they're working in spirit. They're not working within the limitations of their physical body. They're working within the expansion of their own consciousness.
Yes.
So to pay attention to that within yourself, even when you get to the point of passive investing, you know exactly who do you invest into. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you become that person. You become that person that has more depth, not just about the money, not just the returns. Money will always come. We've seen it. There's some very stupid people out there that are making a shit ton of money. Sorry, excuse my language.
No, hey, this raw. We don't. We this raw uncut. We. This ain't politically correct. None of that. This is what we want. Yes.
Yeah, but not a lot of people are moving with love.
Yes.
When you find people moving with love and saying my business is all hearts, my business is love, my relationship with my customers is all love, my
Yes.
relationship with my business partners is all love. If you can find people who take pride in that, and that is like that's the only thing that they're going for, everything is love, everything is just a byproduct of love. That's where that's long-term investment.
Yes.
That's yeah,
The
nothing
best
can shake
decision.
that relationship, nothing can shake that person.
Yes, definitely. And that's what this is all about. That's what the mob is all about. That's what our community is all about. And that's what we're built on. We got relationships that, I've got relationships that, it's 10 years old and counting. And, you can't build those type of, relationships off of just, wanting a transaction, a monetary transaction. You have to build that love and respect behind it. And, it's all about authentic relationships. So, I love the fact that you brought that full circle around and and really built that confirmation. So I appreciate you, Queen, for sure. Real quick, let them know where they can find you, and then yeah, if we can get uh
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on Instagram. I have it right here. And then you can also join my Telegram channel. And in a couple weeks, I'm going to be publishing my book, and I'm actually going to publish it for free because I believe that books should be for free. I believe there's this wealth of wisdom that I was able to channel through. That's a message for everybody to gain clarity to build out of from that place of wholeness. So I really invite you guys to follow me on Instagram, on X, and Threads, so that I can, when I launch that book, you guys have accessibility to that information, so that you could start really exploring your inner world, because you can only know and love another person as much as you love yourself. So love yourself deeply, and that's really my goal, is to show you how you can love yourself deeply so that you can build the foundation of your business from there. um and yeah, shout out to Mob. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for this amazing, you're gonna show me this in back end, like this is amazing. But I'd love to somehow integrate this if I can, but I
yeah,
feel like is very complex, but this is phenomenal. Whatever you got going on here, I'd love to communicate and share, I guess, value in any way, because I also want to be able to do some more coaching calls and help really expand the mind of people. So if you can help me do that on the back end by doing this technical thing,
Let's do it.
inject that within your community, I'm so open. I'm only looking for friends, and I'm looking for creating that community that is built on that foundation of wholeness. So, yeah.
That's what it's all about. I appreciate you, Queen. You have a great day, a great night. Stay warm out there. And I appreciate you so much. We definitely gonna build it in the future. Be on the lookout for us to reach out to you so we can really, do a follow up and just continue on building for sure.
Yeah, really excited for what's to come. And it seems like there's a lot of doors to open up for each other this year.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'll talk to you shortly.
Okay, bye for now.